Hey guys, welcome to my first YouTube tutorial. So I'm starting off with the Anastasia Brow Wiz in medium brown, and I'm just outlining the bottom of the brow from the end and working my way forward. Now that I've outlined the bottom, I like to brush up the product and distribute it throughout the brow, and then fill in any sparse areas that I missed. Now I'm going to start by brushing the brow hairs down and outlining the top of the brow. I find when I brush the brow hairs down, it gives me an exact placement of where I need to put the outline, as opposed to brushing it up and drawing the outline over the hairs. Now that I'm happy with the way it's filled in, I like to just distribute some of the product through the front of the brow as well. Now going in with Nars Pot Concealer, I like to use a thicker concealer to carve out the brow. I'm just starting at the front of the brow and then working my way to the tail. I like to do the front and then the tail and then save the arch for last, which is very weird, but it just works for me that way. Now that I'm happy with the outline, I like to drag the product down towards the eyelid and make sure to buff it in. Now I'm starting to carve the top of the brow using the same concealer and a flat brush. I know when you think of carving the top and the bottom of the brow, it gives like 2016 flashbacks, but don't worry. What you want to do is just mainly try to get them as even as possible and just clean up any areas. Make sure not to use too much product so that it doesn't look too outlined. Now I'm just setting the eyelid with a translucent powder, and I'm also going to run that through the brow. I like to make sure I really pack it in before I start to do swiping motions. And if you notice that your eyelids crease, I would say try this out. I also find that this helps blend because it gives you a soft base on the lid. So now let's start on the eyes. I'm starting at the lash base and working my way outwards, and then I like to pull through the top crease. I find that when I start at the lash base and pull out, it gives me a nice outline of how far I want to take it out. And depending on what you're into, you could blow it out as much as you want. I really like a good snatched cat eye look, so I like to pull it as much as I can. Again, starting at the base of the lash line, I'm going in with a deeper brown now and a smaller brush and just doing the same technique but in smaller blending motions. So each time you want to go darker, you want to go smaller with the brush and smaller with the blends, but still make sure you give the impact of the color that you want. I always say start off with less and just add and add more. So as you can see also, I'm bringing it into the crease, but I'm not blowing it out as much. So I'm lifting her brow slightly so that I could get an exact placement of where I want to keep that. Once I'm happy, I'm going back in with the first brush and the first transition color and just making sure everything's blended out. I can't stress this enough, guys. Blend, blend, blend. Now I'm going in with the black shadow and a smaller shader brush. As you can see, I'm still doing small circular motions, but I'm trying to keep it as close to the lash line as possible. You want to make sure that most of the product is distributed at the lash line and then start to work your way up. I'm also slightly bringing that into the crease, but not fully bringing it all the way to the inner corner. We want to make the lid as clean as possible, so try to just keep your darker colors on the outer corners of the eyes. This is going to give you that really pulled out look and the snatched cat eye look. Now I'm just going back in with the brown and making sure everything's blended out nicely. Next, I'm going to go onto the lid with a powder foundation. I find that powder foundations give more coverage and they're able to let you really carve out the lid. We want this to be more diffused, so I'm not really gonna pack it on. I kind of want to just give a light wash of the color. Now I'm just taking a wipe and really cleaning that up. That's why I like doing eyes first, because I like to get as messy as I can, and I just clean the edge up for that really sharp look. You want to make sure you start at the bottom of the lash line and connect it to the brow. Now I'm going in with the cleanser and just making sure that her skin is nice and clean. Now I'm going in with the Milk Vegan Milk Moisturizer. I really like this moisturizer because you don't need a lot of product for it to really hydrate the skin. I like to really make sure to pat it in and then go ahead and rub it in. A lot of my clients love this step because it feels like a mini face massage. Now my model is oily on her T-zone, so we're just adding some oil control primer. This is a Makeupforever Step 1 primer. Now going in with the Nars Soft Matte Foundation, one of my favorite foundations. I'm going to start off by blending it in all over. I know you guys may think it looks a little crazy, it looks too dark for her skin tone, but I was matching her body. And once you put the powders and the concealers and everything, trust me, it all comes together. This foundation is more on the full coverage side, so I like to work with thin layers and just add wherever I need more coverage. As you can see, her forehead is very clear, so I try not to add as much product there. Also, don't be shy to pull that hairline back and really get in there. You want to make sure that there's a seamless blend with everything. Now I'm going in with the KKW concealer in shade 8. This is one of my favorite concealers, and I'm hoping that Kim makes a comeback soon because I miss her website. So I'm just taking this under the eyes. I'm also gonna put this along the chin and between the brows and the forehead. Now I'm going in with a lighter shade, 4.5, closer to the center of the face to really brighten up. I'm also bringing that on the forehead and the chin to give us some more lightness there. Now I'm gonna just start blending it in. As you can see, it just melts really nicely into the foundation. I'm starting off at the chin and slightly bringing it under the cheekbones as well. I now go ahead and start to blend out the outer edges of the under eye, but you want to make sure you leave the center for the last part. I really love the Makeup Shack sponge because of the flat edge it has, so you're able to really get under that eyeshadow that we did. I also really like this edge because you're able to really conceal close to the brow without messing it up. Now I'm just pinching the sponge and going in between the brows. Make sure I blend that out. Now going in for the under eye, I like to leave this part for the end because I like to really let it warm up to the skin and kind of dry down. This will give us a thicker consistency, which will keep the concealer where we placed it, and we won't have to blend out as much. So you guys, I like to really take my time in the under eye and make sure it's blended out. Obviously, some parts are cut out and it's sped up, but I really like to take my time and make sure it's really pushed into the skin. Now I'm gonna go ahead and set it with the Anastasia loose powder in Banana. I was a die-hard powder puff fan, but I've recently been using a brush to set the under eye and I really love it. I like to go in with thin layers and just really make sure each layer is packed in. Once I'm happy, I'll go in and start to swipe and swipey motions, but make sure you really push in the product and try not to load on a lot at one time. I also like bringing that powder onto the chin, around the mouth, on the forehead, and down the nose. Now I'm taking H&B medium tan powder and setting the perimeters of the face. I find doing this gives you less flashback when you take pictures, and it's really nice because you're not just one tone all across your face. Now going in with the one size translucent powder, I'm just cutting under the cheek. For some reason, doing this before contouring helps me. It just gives me a layout of how low I need to take the contour, and it just gives the same effect in my opinion. Nose contour now. I'm doing it very faint and lightly because my model has a very nice nose. So I'm just bringing that up into the brow and also bringing that into the crease of the shadow and just making sure everything's connected really nicely. I also like to bring the contour under the nose to lift it slightly and give a cute little button effect. Now going in with the Huda Beauty loose powder and pound cake, I'm doing a light bake and just cleaning up the edges of the nose contour. Like I mentioned earlier, I love using a lot of powder. I just like to do it in very thin layers, make sure everything just is seamless with each other. Now adding some color back into the contour areas with the Scott Barnes contour palette. I love the shade Sliced. It's just a perfect between like a neutral and a warm. It's just my favorite. I've literally hit pan on only that color because I love it so much. Next, one of my favorite parts, which is blush. I'm going in with a KKW blush in Perfect Pink and just putting that on the cheeks, on the nose, and slightly on the forehead and chin. Now I'm starting the under eye. I'm going in with a tiny dome brush and with the same contour shade sliced and just starting to buff that out. Once I have a good transition base, I go in with a deeper brown now and a smaller flat angled brush and just really try to keep this close to the lash line as possible. As you notice, once I get to the front towards the waterline, instead of bringing it up towards the waterline, I like to slightly put it straight. This will give the eyes a different shape and just really give you more of that cat eye look. Now you guys don't hate me, but I could not get a good angle for the inner corner because I get really in the face when I do that. So I promise you guys next time I do it, I'll for sure give you guys that tutorial. But now I'm just dusting off any excess powder. Now taking the Born This Way powder foundation in light beige, I'm just gonna go ahead and add some more brightness under the eye. I really like powder foundations because you're able to control the coverage and it just gives you a more matte look under the eye. I noticed that with certain brightening powders, they kind of have this sheen to them, which I'm not really a fan of, so that's why I love powder foundations. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add a lash. I love a good wispy lash. I'm not really a big fan of the huge lashes unless the look really calls for it, but I like a more wispy cat eye flared out lash. Now I'm just adding some more to the corners to give more of a flared out effect. Now going in with KKW Honey 3 lip liner, I'm gonna start lining the lips. You wanna make sure you keep the lip liner as close to the lip as possible and only make sure to outline the top and the bottom of the lip. You wanna keep the corners as close to the natural lip as possible because then it's just gonna give the appearance of a big mouth and you don't want that. You want more of the pouty look. Now going in with another KKW lip product, I'm gonna take a Nude 1 lipstick and just blend that in and make sure it's really nicely blended into that lip line. Listen, you guys, KKW lip products are elite and they're just so amazing. Now you can stop here if you love a good matte lip, but I'm gonna go ahead and add some shine to it with the MAC Clear Gloss. Now going in with the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray just to lock everything in, and that's the last step for this beautiful soft glam look. Thank you guys so much for watching and hope you learned something from this tutorial. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hope to see you guys soon.